Hey, this is Trent Rush. Welcome to another edition of the Under the Halo podcast. This week, they call him the Volunteer Fireman. Ben Joyce joins us. We talk about his first time throwing 105 miles an hour, how he's settling into the role as the Angels closer, but also learn a little bit about his family and his background growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee. Here now is our chat with Angels closer, Ben Joyce. We had a guest up in the booth, and you were maybe first or second appearance up in the major leagues. I'm like, guys, you got to see this guy. You got to see how hard Ben Joyce throws. And then all of a sudden I'm like, at sinker 97, sinker 98. I'm like, okay, he's throwing hard. And then they're like, well, what are you talking about? And then like a 104 comes up out of nowhere. Do you feel like that's a huge advantage to be able to have that fastball in your back pocket when maybe you're going sinker slider with these guys and then everyone knows how hard you can throw, to have that in your back pocket? You think that makes a difference?
Definitely. I think it's something for a hitter to think about all the time. And it's actually funny you said that. There's some stadiums where I kind of feel like I can hear what people are saying in the stands sometimes. Like I'm locked in, but like I can kind of hear it. And I remember I started off with like 2 or 3 sinkers. They were like, I thought this guy threw 100. I kind of like laughed in my head, and I was like, but I, like at the end of the day, it's one of those things. Like if the hitter has more things to think about, I think that can only benefit me in the long run. So
okay, speaking of things to think about, you're gonna have to help me understand this one. Your first save, you get it. I don't want to talk about the pitch. I don't want to talk about how hard you were throwing, that you were 105. Can we please talk about the celebration there for a moment? Because I'm trying to understand what you were thinking about there. I'm sure your teammates had some fun with that. You got into that big old stance out there at the end. Walk me through the celebration of that first save.
So what's funny is that was not planned at all. I was not like, oh, I'm going to do this. But so I watched Tennessee win the national championship. And if you watch the guy throw the last pitch, he does the same thing. Okay. I think it was just like ingrained in my head. I was like, I'm going to do that. All right. And so I throw it, and I was kind of like trying to like get pumped up or whatever. And then I just kind of ended up in that squad, and I'm glad it was something funny that came out of it, but it was not planned at all.
Okay, that's good to know, because I was almost thinking like, because it started a little bit like what Carlos does, but then like you stopped. So I was like, maybe you thought, okay, no, I don't want to do that. But I mean, first save, and then to get your first save at the big league level, how different is that? How different is it in that 9th inning? Everyone talks about it. How different is it when you have to go get that 27th out?
Yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of another level of pressure, but I think it all works good. Like it's another level of focus, another level of intensity, and it's kind of like almost like a different air when you're out there. Like you know that it's the game's on the line. It's either you're going to do it or you're not going to do it. So it's a pretty cool position to be in. I'd
imagine so. And it seems like, I'm trying to think right now. I know at the time we're recording this, you got 3 saves. I think all of them are more than 3 outs. And when you're coming out there in tough spots, get either a 4 or a 5 out save to go get that done. Is it tough sometimes when you're coming out of the bullpen, you got traffic out there, you get through the inning, and it's like, okay, let's ramp right back up. Let's go out and go get that 9. Is that tough, or is it old hat for you now?
It's definitely gotten better now that I've done it more. I would say the first time it's probably like, you come in that situation, like say it's bases loaded, 1st and 3rd, and you get out of it. Your adrenaline's so high, you kind of have to take the 3 outs to calm back down and then kind of get back up again. But now that it's happened a few times, I feel like it's honestly fun to be in that situation, to come in like bases loaded or 1st and 3rd and get out of a situation like that. It's cool to be able to be in that position.
And it's cool watching you. We know we got the nickname the Volunteer Fireman. Is that just because you throw that hard? Actually, forget that. I have to ask this question. Who gave you that nickname? Please don't say yourself.
It was not me. Okay, no, it was the Pitching Ninja on Twitter. When I was at Tennessee, I think it was actually when I threw 105, or maybe it was one of the times before that. Yeah. But he tweeted out like the Volunteer Fireman, Tennessee Volunteers. So it was. I guess it kind of caught on with the fan base, and it's cool that it's stuck for this long.
I like it. So now maybe probably you're not going to see a sword celebration. Maybe we do. I don't know.
I don't think that's something I'm going to do. No, I feel like that can come back and get you in the long run.
I like that. I like that. Hey, what's the camaraderie like with this team? Because we've talked a lot with some of the position players, and we had Mickey and Joe talk about the outfield earlier, and Zach and Logan talk about what things are like in the infield. What's it like in the bullpen as far as the camaraderie with the guys?
It's awesome. I mean, all the guys out there are awesome, and I feel like for me, I've kind of gravitated towards Hunter Strickland, Matt Moore, like those older guys, just trying to pick their brains as much as I can, and they're probably the more supportive than I could have ever imagined. And even the young guys we have coming up, everybody's just pulling for each other. It's cool to see, like, you're down there kind of having fun, and then when it's time to someone's getting ready to go in, everybody's with them, locked in, and cheering for their success. It's a cool group to be a part of.
Are you familiar with the movie Bull Durham?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just picturing you're our Nuke Lelouch, and we got Crash Davis as Hunter Strickland and Matt Moore helping you out. What are maybe some of the things that you can share? Maybe some of the lessons you've learned from those guys? Yeah,
I mean, it's just Strick's been in a lot of big situations. I mean, pitching in the World Series, all that stuff. It's just controlling the ups and the downs. You don't want to get too high or too low in this game, and he's been through a lot of things. So it's just his main thing is don't get too high when things are going good, and don't get too low when things are going bad. Just kind of stay even, and things are most likely going to work out in the long run. Like, say you have a bad outing, it's not like your season's over. Like, you have 50 some outings in a year. It's staying even keeled, and at the end of the day, like, you're just going out there and competing. And he's one of the best competitors I've seen. You can see, like, the kind of aura that he has when he's out there, and that's something I've tried to emulate myself.
I would imagine this is the most you've ever thrown in competitive games this season, with just the whole year, and now going through it, and now getting into September. What's that grind like with the usage and the workload of a full 162-game Major League season?
I'd say for me right now, it's more mental than physical. I feel like physically I've kind of built myself up to a point where I can handle it, but mentally it's just staying locked in every game for 162 games is a big mental toll, and that's something I've also been talking with older guys with. It's just learning how to manage the days that you're up, or the days that you're down, just so that you can stay fresh through the whole season and stay consistent the whole time. I think that's the biggest part for me.
We say this and have this conversation on the heels of an 11-game road trip and a stretch where you guys are on the road for 17 out of 22. That's a lot of time away. You feel like maybe you're getting that road routine down a little bit better?
Definitely, yeah. The travel is I've never traveled this much in my life, never been on a plane this much, so it's definitely something you have to get used to. But now I kind of feel like I know what to expect when we get on the bus and get to a hotel late. Like, I kind of know what I need to do to prepare myself to be ready the next day, and I feel like it's definitely been a big difference from when I started out last year to now. I feel like I'm in a pretty good routine with everything.
I want to take a step back for a minute and go back to your childhood with you and Zach growing up, and your parents, and being there in Knoxville, Tennessee. You guys competing all the time, but what was the family dynamic like for you at home with everything going on, taking care of school, competing with your brother all the time, loving sports? Just what was your childhood like in that sense?
Yeah, my parents are more supportive than I could have ever asked for. It's whether it was school or baseball, that they always expected us to do our best every time, but they were supportive of anything we want to do. If I didn't want to play baseball, like, I wouldn't have never had to. It wasn't something that was forced upon me. It was, they knew that we loved baseball, and they gave everything to that. My dad would take me and my brother to the field every night. I mean, we'd be hitting ground balls for hours and pitching and fielding. He would still play catch me to this day, but I'm kind of, I don't know if I feel comfortable throwing to him, but if I asked him, he would still, to this day, he would go out there and play catch with me, and I couldn't have asked for more supportive parents, and I mean, having a twin brother is awesome as well. Like we said earlier, you always have that guy to compete with, that guy to, if you're on a new team, you always know one guy, and I mean, we've been close our whole career. We've played on the same team, so I mean, one day playing for the Angels together, it would be a dream come true.
Did you guys play travel ball?
We did. We played for a local Knoxville team, so it was, kind of stuck with those same guys throughout travel ball. So it was a good group. Was
there a day where you popped Dad's mitt and he said, "Okay, all right, it's coming in a little firm right now"?
Yeah, I think it was kind of towards the end of high school. That was when I remember specifically, and he'll laugh about this. I threw him a slider, and it hit him in the kneecap or somewhere, and I was like, I don't know if we can, how much longer we can keep doing this, because he said that. He was like, I don't know how much longer I can keep doing this. You guys are throwing too hard now. So it was, I'd say probably getting into junior college was when it was like, all right, this might be a little too much.
Have they had a chance to come out some games?
Yes, they've come out to quite a few. They're actually coming out this weekend, so it's awesome to. I mean, at this stage in my life, I always dreamed of being here, and to have them experience that with me is awesome.
Was baseball always the end game for you? Like, if people ask the question, if you weren't playing baseball, what would it be? What would you do? But part of that, but also like I imagine you played a bunch of different sports. Talked about basketball earlier, but was baseball always kind of a game for you?
Yeah, it was. I think I kind of always fell in love with baseball. I'd say probably from 3 years old on. That was kind of what I gravitated towards. And there was definitely times like towards the end of high school, like I didn't have any offers or anything. I was like, I don't know if this is for me, but I kind of always ended up being like, this is what I'm supposed to do. I feel like it was always baseball over anything else for sure.
Who were your favorite players growing up?
I loved watching Max Scherzer. My first ever baseball game I went to was a Nationals game, and I loved watching Max Scherzer. Aroldis Chapman's awesome. Just all those guys. I feel like I gravitated towards the guys where you see them out there and they kind of almost like command the stadium. Like they have this different feel when they're on the mound. You can tell that they're just competing with what they got that day, and that's kind of what I tried to emulate.
I heard this from CC Sabathia one time, and it just always kind of stuck with me. He's standing on the mound, and he goes, there is no power like holding the ball right there, looking around the stands. Of course, it's before the pitch clock. He goes, this game's going to start when I'm ready for it to start. And to have that kind of control of the moment, you're right. That's an interesting thing you point out there, because I don't think everybody necessarily has that same kind of command and that confidence. It's hard to get that. So kudos to you for having that. Let's talk about Tennessee Volunteer Baseball for a minute, because you guys coming off a national championship now. I would think going to big league games, maybe it took you a while to get to a big league game because it was probably like watching big league baseball with the talent that goes through Tennessee all the time. Would you go to a lot of Tennessee games as a kid?
Oh yeah, I went to the summer camps. I went to the weekend series. We tried to get up there quite a bit, and it was cool. Just like I've said before, like just seeing the gradual, like they're getting better every year. The program's growing, and I mean, I remember when I would first go, there'd be maybe 200 people there on a weekend series, and then by the time we were there playing, it was sold out every game. So it's just a kudos to that coaching staff and the program that they've built.
Okay, don't lie. How many times did you tell Perry, you got to draft Christian Moore? You got to draft Christian Moore.
Yeah,
it must be pretty cool having another Vol join the organization.
Yeah, anytime I got asked about any Tennessee Vol, I was like, you're not going to go wrong there. So it was exciting to see that, and I mean, just I saw him his freshman year, and I could just tell he kind of had something different, and it was from the work ethic to just what the talent that he already had his freshman year. I mean, he was competing in the SEC from day one, so I kind of knew it was something special, and it was really exciting that we drafted him.
Have you guys connected at all?
Oh yeah, I've talked to him quite a few times, and especially right after the draft, just kind of what to expect and just how proud I was of him. I mean, like I said, just you see a guy their freshman year and to know that they had it then, but just continue to work and put it in. And I kind of always saw him being a first round, like kind of what he was. I kind of figured that was where he was headed.
Kind of a cool dynamic too, because I know obviously playing as part of the program, you're forever a part of it, but growing up, that's your team. You got to be a pretty big fan, right?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
To a certain extent, you were a fan of this guy, and now all of a sudden he's in the organization and might be a teammate soon. So that's kind of a cool dynamic, don't you think?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, people always tell me in the locker room, they're like, close the yearbook. Like I'm the biggest Tennessee fan you could know. And I mean, I followed that team this year. Like every game, I was watching as much as I could and keeping up with everybody, and knowing that we could end up drafting some of them, it was very exciting, and I couldn't be happier for him, and it'll be even cooler to get to play with him up here.
So maybe not necessarily advice for Christian, but it could be, but just advice in general for guys that are first breaking into Major League Baseball. You've more than gotten your feet wet at this point. You're getting kind of your first big taste of it now in a prominent role as a closer for this team. But what is some advice you feel like you can offer to guys that maybe are just starting to break into Major League Baseball?
I think the best advice I can give is it's not always going to be easy. Like, there's going to be days where mentally it feels like a lot. Like, I remember at first I kind of struggled mentally being up here. It's just it's a different world. I mean, you're not always ready for it, but I think if you can lean on the people around you, lean on the older guys, and just trust that you're here for a reason, I think, and find a routine that works for you. At the end of the day, everything's going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, how do you get through some of that stuff? Is it calling back home? Is it making friends here? How's that?
I think it's a mix of everything. I mean, for me, I got big into my faith, and I feel like that helped me a lot. I mean, my girlfriend has been awesome. Anytime I'm going through something, just being able to talk with her. My parents, my mom and dad are there anytime I call. It's just trusting in those people in your life, and then at the end of the day, just trusting that, like I said, like it's going to work out how it's supposed to. Like, you can't force things to happen. Like, I tried to just view it like all I have is today, and I'm going to make the most of today, and then worry about tomorrow. So
it's been neat to see the evolution. It's been neat to see you just kind of when Carlos got traded, everyone was talking, okay, there's a pretty good chance that you could end up being the closer. Were there things that maybe you talked about with Carlos before any of that happened about taking on that role and the responsibility of being a closer in the major leagues?
Yeah, he was awesome, and I feel like kind of from day one in 23 spring training, he kind of almost took me under his wing, and I feel like that was really cool of him to do that. He would work with me a little extra on whether it was on mental stuff or just pitching wise, and I feel like he prepared me pretty well, even just from me watching him and how he went about his business every day. I think it was awesome to kind of have that role model to look towards. And I felt better prepared when the situation did come to get my first save or throw in a more high leverage situation. I felt like he really kind of set a blueprint for that for me.
We talk on the radio all the time about what's the big deal for this final month of the season? Like, hey, not really in the race. And I'm like, wait a minute. I think every game, every inning, every pitch matters to somebody. Mm-hmm. When you're out there, I know how much it means to you, how much it matters to you. What are the things you feel like you're going to be able to get out of this final month of the season?
I mean, just like you said, it's treating every pitch, every at-bat, every opportunity you get to go out there and pitch, or as a hitter, every at-bat you have, like it matters. Like it's building those reps to – building the mental reps, the physical reps to go into next year and really make a difference. And I think any experience that you can get up here is awesome. I've been grateful for the experience that I've got this year. And it's just building the camaraderie as a team. Like winning games in September, even if we might not be in the playoff race, it still can be important in the long run. Yeah. As we build this young group of guys. And it's just building that blueprint. Like, every time we go out there, we expect to win, and I think getting big wins here in September is going to be big for that.
Ben, I don't want to keep it too much longer, but I got to ask this before we let you go. You spend so much time with those guys out in the bullpen, and you see up close and personal some of the arms that are coming through. And I know sometimes in bullpens, it can change day to day at the major league level. Who are some of the arms that you see that are like, okay, wow, this looks pretty special. This guy might really be something.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Zephyrdon, that was some of the most electric stuff I've seen. And even Ryan Miller coming up, like I think he had like a 2.4 maybe in AAA, and that's a tough league to pitch in. So just it's exciting the young guys that we have. And in AA when I was there, Michael Darrell Hicks was awesome. Luke Murphy, Hayden Sig. I mean, that bullpen in AA was really fun to be a part of, and I think a lot of those guys can really make a difference in the culture that we're building here. So it's cool to see kind of some homegrown guys coming up and making a difference, and I'm excited to see what Caden Dana can do. I know he's not in the bullpen, but I got pretty close with him this year, and just his work ethic and the way that he treats his body and prepares for every game is pretty awesome to see.
Can't wait to see that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Ben, thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on the Under the Halo podcast. If you want to check out any other episodes of the Under the Halo podcast, if you're watching on YouTube right now, we'll continue to check out youtube.com/angels. Maybe you're going to be on the road driving and you can only listen. Well, an audio-only podcast is available as well. You go to angels.com/podcast to check that out, or download and subscribe wherever you're getting your podcasts already. Again, my name is Trent Rush. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Under the Halo podcast.